Multifactor authentication, or MFA, is a security process that requires a user to provide two or more distinct forms of identification before access is granted. Instead of relying only on a username and password, MFA adds extra verification layers, which is why CompTIA loves it. On the exam, this shows up when a scenario mentions that a password alone is not enough, and the organization wants stronger assurance that the user is legitimate. The main reason MFA matters is that it reduces the risk of unauthorized access, even when credentials are stolen. If an attacker gets a password through phishing or a data breach, MFA can still block access because additional factors are required. A typical CompTIA question might describe credential theft and ask which control best mitigates the impact. And the correct answer is MFA because it adds protection beyond passwords and is often required by compliance and regulatory standards. One common MFA implementation is biometrics, which uses unique physical or behavioral characteristics to verify identity. Examples include fingerprints, facial recognition, iris scans, and voice recognition. Biometrics fall under the factor something you are. And on the exam, this appears when a scenario describes unlocking a system using a fingerprint or face scan, indicating a biometric authentication method. Another important MFA implementation is authentication tokens, which are physical or virtual devices that generate one-time passwords or codes. Hard tokens are physical devices, while soft tokens are software-based apps on a phone or computer. In a CompTIA-style scenario, if a user enters a rotating code from an app or key fob after typing a password, the correct concept is an authentication token, providing an additional factor. Security keys are physical devices that use cryptographic processes to authenticate users and often support standards like FIDO. These keys require the user to physically possess the device, making them highly resistant to phishing attacks. On the exam, this shows up when a scenario mentions inserting or tapping a hardware key to log in, which indicates a security key being used as part of MFA. The factor something you know refers to knowledge-based information that only the user should know, such as a password, PIN, or answers to security questions. This is the most common authentication factor and is usually the first step in MFA. CompTIA questions often start with a password login and then ask what additional factor would make the process multi-factor authentication. The factor, something you have, involves possession of a physical or virtual item, such as an authentication token, smart card, or mobile device. This factor confirms that the user has access to a specific object in addition to knowing a password. On the exam, if a scenario mentions a phone, key fob, or smart card used during login, the correct factor is something you have. The factor something you are is based on inherent physical or behavioral traits, including fingerprints, facial features, and voice patterns. This factor is tied directly to biometrics and provides strong identity verification. A CompTIA scenario might describe a fingerprint scanner or facial recognition system, signaling that something you are is being used. The factor somewhere you are verifies the user's location, often using geolocation or proximity to a specific place. This factor helps ensure access only occurs from authorized locations. On the exam, if a question mentions logging in only from a specific country, building, or network location, the correct factor is somewhere you are. The key cybersecurity takeaway is that multi-factor authentication strengthens security by combining multiple authentication factors, making unauthorized access far more difficult even if one factor is compromised. And if this helped you understand MFA for AP cybersecurity or CompTIA security, please consider liking and subscribing for more cybersecurity lessons like this.